think that EA is trying to pull a Call of Duty when it comes to dedicated servers, which means have the servers and you could just join matches on their games. I think Battlefield is failing. Battlefield 5 for some reason has been a big turnoff. And not just the social justice thing, not just the whole women and all that type of stuff. I think Battlefield 5 is falling due to its gameplay. I think they have some good ideas in gameplay, but I don't think the gameplay appeals to everybody. I think people ended up getting used to a certain format, and so they tried to dial it back.
Yeah.
But it's the type of player, it's a type of mixed audience. You done brought in an extra audience with Battlefield 1 that they're used to that now when they come to Battlefield 5. You all have changed things in a dramatic fashion that they're not going to feel comfortable with it. And don't get me wrong, like there's some good ideas in there, but everybody's not going to work like that playing a Battlefield game. For the sake of business, I'm just trying to give an understanding to this because I know there'll be some people out there like, yeah, but we don't want that. I think what they're doing with blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but it's not cohesive though. It's not a cohesive package where people have to remember the health stations and have to remember the ammo stations that they had to go build and go back and forth and get this and that. Like that's another extra thing that a lot of players, a lot of casual players that jump into a game, which Battlefield has started basically attracting to their game, those players are not going to be comfortable with it. And it's going to be a lack of players. Now, it's not that I think it's bad. It's just a bad mix. It's just an overall bad mix of things. I agree you want to do for your core audience, but your core audience in Battlefield has shrunken. They seem to, they seem to really want Battlefield Bad Company 3. Battlefield 4 as well, but there's talk about Bad Company 3. That's why a lot of them have left and gone back to Battlefield 4. That's why Battlefield 4 is still flourishing because I don't think Battlefield 1 is a bad game. I just think that it's lacking. And some of the mechanics I don't agree with, but overall it's just a lacking game.
You know, when BF1 started in the open beta, if I remember correctly, they had around 12, 13 million players that tested the beta. And the game got very popular when you talk about performance, fluency, and adding of maps, adding of weapons. People love the game. And then I'm not even going to talk about the server because it's come to a point where it's not relevant anymore because we kind of know they just don't want that. So what they did was for the medic class, they had healing and you could like insta-revive with that needle or you could kill with it. And you had, for example, the M1 Garand. It was not in the BF1 because of the time. It was World War I. But they had something similar weapons and then they wanted the close quarter weapons or medium-range weapons to be the medic class because they had an idea that we should be at a medium range, but at the same time have some medium close range weapons if the enemy came too close because our objective is to heal the allies and revive them. And then BF5 came and then changed all of that. Talking about the people's favorite on BF1, they took it on BF5, they gave those weapons to assault class. It brought some uproar on Reddit and people started showing their anger, say, hey, you know, we are medic class. It makes no sense that I get killed by an assault class from long range or a heavy machine gun or even a close range in 1 second. You just hear and then you're down. And then they had a huge talk about TTK, time to kill.
Yeah.
And they did some changes, but they buffed some of the assault rifles, the heavy machine guns heavily, where it made no sense. The machine gun had like 1,000 accuracy. The fire rate was on 300,000. I'm just, you know, it wasn't that much, obviously, but like it made no sense. And the maps are still the same. I think they added one map after official release, like one map. It's been how many months? I don't know. And that map is a giant. It's giant. It's a big map, but the map is made for tanks, not enemy, not players, not ground combat. And people are so angry. And like I said, I'm not even gonna go to dedicated servers with BF1 say they're gonna have it, and then they release it, and then later you know that you can't see anything outside the game. You have to be inside the game to see everything. You can't have several admins. You can't. First of all, you could not kick in a in the official launch of servers. You cannot kick, ban players. There was just nothing. And people and admins all over BF4 and 3 said, well, we're not going to move to this game because we're basically paying for server we have no control over. And that makes no sense.
Exactly. Why would you have a server when you could just basically join all the other quick match games out there? What's the point of a server? You paying for nothing.
Yeah. Pay for nothing. They have no control. If someone uses bad word language, you can't see it. You have to be in game. They don't support third-party programs where you have IP addresses, where you have logs. It's just who the hell pays for that?
Mm-hmm.
And people still went and rented for the servers, but those are the people I think that are either was forced or just had too much money to think for themselves.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, man. But I just really see that Battlefield has gone downhill because I really didn't want this for Battlefield 5, but it seems it started out already bad. Like it started out by them trying to push out a trailer and trying to push the woman all in your face. Like this is the first thing we're going to do. You should not even be like, even if you plan on including women in the game, why be so super obvious about this stuff, man? Like, why throw this down people's throats like the first chance you get? The force in just the way that you all do things is just all backwards, all wrong.
It's all backwards. They were censoring people. People could not say certain words.
Yeah.
And sometimes at some point you have to think, are these developers really on with what's the hype, with what the players need? Is it in standards? I think they are going backwards, like you say, and I find it funny because a normal person would think this will only go one way and that's up. Because of the succeed Battlefield 3 had, because of the succeed Battlefield 4 had. Battlefield 1 was a succeed because it was not a bad game, people loved it. Then BF5 came, but on purpose, they left the word perks, attachments, on purpose. Like to get a certain skin, the gold skin on BF5, let's just say the magazine. You're not getting a paint for the whole weapon. You have to do it part by part. And those parts include challenges. Some of them are, for example, kill 10 people when you are crouching near an objective area. They're basically telling you to camp, and then you have to move on to the next challenge to get the front part of the weapon as gold skin. Then you have the middle part, and then you have the rear part. And these are all different challenges. And people got sick of it. At one point, they didn't add those in-game credits when people reach level 50, and then they added some in-game skins. You could buy for 11,000, 12,000, and the limit wasn't 50,000 when it first launched. Then the skins they released in-game from the shop were not good at all. At no point. They were ugly. People didn't want them. You actually like to have your weapon because by killing and doing progression, you got your skins, you got your attachments, perks, and things, and you love to use it even more. That kind of gave you, it gave you motivation to play with that weapon. But here, it's stupid, silly, what you call challenges to get that weapon. Some of them are headshots. Some of them are deal so and so much damage on that map. You have to wait for that map. And if you are at the end of the rotation, you have to wait for 4 goddamn maps or even quit and go find that map and just to get that skin. It was mad silly, man. BF4 did everything perfect and everything just got backwards. How come you don't have any, for example, magazine drum to a Thompson? They call it a perk. You have to open it. You have to click on, gives 30 extra ammo. And it gives you 30 extra ammo. Well, why can't there just be an attachment where you put in a weapon and you can customize your weapons just like Call of Duty 5 had? And Call of Duty 5 was so behind in time, not behind in time. I'm comparing BF5's time to Call of Duty 5.
Yeah,
and,
years ago.
Yeah, years ago. How come Call of Duty 5 that came out around 2009, 8 or 10 be so much better in that department than Battlefield 5 in 2018? It's mind-boggling. With all what they have. Shit. Frostbite engine. All that. Bigger team. More money. This should not be a problem.
Yeah. Well,
People want that.
exactly. I can see EA has taken a loss on this one. It's sad because Battlefield 5 is such a beautiful looking game. Besides some of the gameplay changes, which are really, I feel, is part of the reason that some people are turned off. Not necessarily the core Battlefield audience, but I think their gained audience that they had from at least the hype of what Battlefield 1 was, they wasn't able to maintain that. The fact that they're not doing season passes or whatever that is, that's cool. But I don't know what they're going to do now because they don't really have the player base in order to do what they're really trying to do in order to fund the game. And I also think that's a reason why you're not going to see a whole dedicated server system from EA. A lot of the players right now are saying, why don't you just give us the opportunity to rent and build dedicated servers ourselves like they used to do? And for some reason, I think there's two reasons EA, I'm not necessarily like totally knowledgeable of why EA would do this, but I think that there's two reasons. One is they don't want everybody to have the server files because they don't want easy exploits done with their files or with their server. I can see that being one of the reasons. Another reason is I think they're trying to move in the area of Call of Duty as far as servers go. Because Call of Duty, after a while, they just eliminated user dedicated servers. They did something on Black Ops, which was not really acceptable because it was one company when some people are already with other companies that they have like a relationship with, which will allow them to have better pricing with their servers and different things like that. But, you know, so they put people in the bind with Black Ops 1 saying that they were bringing back dedicated servers and they really didn't bring them back in that way. Same thing happened with Modern Warfare 3. Well, I'm not going to say the same thing happened. Modern Warfare 3, you were able to have different providers, but still the servers were limited. Sadly, I hate to say this, but people had to hack the servers just in order to bring some of the stuff that they used to have in the older Call of Duties back to the new Call of Duties. Because they were still, like, you had servers, but they were still forcing you into matchmaking in order to progress. And then you could come back to the servers, but you couldn't progress in the servers. You couldn't do nothing with the servers.
So they locked people.
Yeah. So eventually, overall, man, they just stopped doing servers.
Wow. One thing about BF4 that's cool too, I think that's what's called community created maps. And you got that as a DLC or something.
Yeah.
And then I honestly, personally felt like when I was playing Battlefield 5, when I first heard that there's going to be no premium pass, I immediately looked up Battlefield 5 plans because you have BF4 had plans, BF1 had plans. They kind of show like a timeline when they're going to add this and that in which time and date. And so I was looking at the same thing up for Battlefield 5, and I didn't see anything. Then I immediately understood what's going on. I was okay. So they're kind of making people think, oh man, this has no premium pass. Now, I wish I could have paid for it because then they would have maybe added maps just like Battlefield 4 and 5. You see how slick they are? It's reverse tactics.
I can see that. Good. I can see that point of view too. I can see that. But
you see, they want to.
But saying, what if they really legit, like, because you got to have a certain amount of funding to start doing anything. You can't just do everything for free. So you do have a point, but like, I don't know if people would have paid for it or not because Battlefield 5 is like on a decline. Yeah, the reason why you don't have those extra maps and all this extra stuff is basically because it costs money. If there aren't any season passes to make the money up from, the money has to be made off of something like Fortnite did with their cosmetics. You see, that's how Fortnite made their money. And Battlefield, I think, wants to make their money similar to that, but it didn't work for Battlefield 5 because it was already putting off players to begin with.
Hello viewers, don't forget to like this video, comment on it below, share it with others, and most of all, subscribe. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.
It's too big.